ready? All right, dear colleagues, it's a really pleasure to have you today with us, such a diverse panel of experts. So I would ask you a couple of questions. The first question would be the one to all of you. So we've seen remarkable progress globally in shaping AI governance, right? From adoption of AI Act to India's growing emphasis on responsible AI. From your perspective, what recent developments or emerging trends do you see as most promising for aligning international approaches while respecting national priorities? And I would like to start with Bilal, yourself, to share your international vision.
Thank you very much, Ksenia, and hello again. I think Dr. Mittal mentioned one of the challenges with AI when he talked about AI for bad. And that was the same challenge of deep fakes, misinformation, disinformation, that came as one of the top issues, hurting trust or threatening trust in our system. From the World Economic Forum 2025 report, it was the fourth top risk. It was also the biggest risk that we heard at our AI governance dialogue in 2024 at the AI4Good summit. And it showed that particular topic of misinformation and deepfakes showed how it was necessary to have a dual action, an action on governance and standards going hand in hand. It was clear from the dialogue that the policymakers are not necessarily aware of the existing technologies, the existing standards that can be used to combat deepfakes. The standards makers were busy working on their particular topic of interest. The JPEG standards group was working on JPEG trust to make sure that images that are tampered with could be protected, or there can be some multimedia authenticity. The group working on video coding was working on watermarks for videos. The group working on audio speech recognition was trying to work on multimedia authenticity for voice. So there was fragmented approach in the standards development landscape in 2024. And as a result, during the AI4Good summit in 2024, we launched a collaboration on multimedia authenticity with ISO, IEC, and ITU, with IEEE, the Internet Engineering Task Force. So we brought all of these players together, and we worked on two documents that were needed to govern and deal with misinformation. The first one was a report on all the standards work on multimedia authenticity, including techniques like watermarking, using AI to detect deepfakes. These standards were being developed in ISO, IEC, ITU, IEEE, as I mentioned. So we published the first report to show the landscape of standards. And the second report was a policy guidance to policymakers on how to use those tools and standards to combat deepfakes. Going after websites that are not authentic and taking them down. Ensuring that video has a multimedia watermark. Using the JPEG trust to ensure that images that have been tampered with can be easily detected. So I wanted to use this concrete example to show the interplay on how AI can be governed using international standards.
Thank you, Bilal. Thank you so much. And we have also UNESCO with us, and of course we know UNESCO has been co-chairing with ITU the Interagency Working Group on AI. So, Eun-Song, from your perspective, what are the emerging trends that could support the AI governance?
Thank you, Ksenia, and thank you, Bilal, for inviting UNESCO to this panel. I think just like ITU, UNESCO, and UN, we're global organizations that set standards, or in our case, we build normative frameworks. And in AI, UNESCO led the discussion on what it means to have ethical AI. What do we need? What do we need to consider? What are the consensus that has to be in place? So in 2021, we developed the recommendation, the global recommendation on the ethics of AI. It was built on consensus by all our 193 member states. And it outlines the high-level values and principles of what ethical AI means, why we need ethical AI, and how to do it. The principles outlines those mechanisms. What we did to go a step ahead is because we don't want these global standards or normative frameworks to just sit on the shelf. We want member states and governments to take them up and implement them in their own policies and programs in their own countries. So we did a couple of things. First of all, the recommendation itself has very specific policy areas that it is pegged to. So we have 11 policy areas ranging from data to AI policy to gender equality, which was very specific, to environmental impact, which I think in 2021 was a very, very new discussion. And we're very proud to have led that kind of consciousness and awareness. Now that you see in the AI Action Summit in France, there's a whole new program on the environmental impacts of AI. So that's one thing we did to make sure that the global standards align with the national policies. Secondly, we have something called the AI Readiness Assessment Methodology. At UNESCO, we call it the RAM. We're doing the RAM right now with about 70 countries around the world, majority global south countries. And what it is basically, it's a series of questions that collect quantitative and qualitative data in each country to give an overall diagnosis of where the country stands in terms of ethical AI. And we recommend that countries do this, we support countries do this in the beginning of their AI policy journey, because we don't want strategies and policies to come out from nowhere. We want it to be pegged and based on evidence and data collected from that country itself. So that's something that we're doing very specifically to support the alignment of global frameworks and national policies. And in South Asia, the region I lead, we're doing the RAM with the Indian government, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, with Bangladesh, Maldives, and we're in progressive discussions to also do it in Sri Lanka. So that's something that I see is a great progression for AI ethics, where the UN is supporting nations in aligning global standards to national frameworks.
Thank you very much, Young Song. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen some great example of international frameworks that are already in place. So, Fadwa, from your perspective, how are those frameworks potentially being implemented in your region? If you could share your experience.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here today with you, and thank you very much for inviting me. I come from the private sector in Saudi Arabia, so I'm going to talk from that perspective. I believe that AI governance needs to be proactive rather than reactive. It means shaping policies before issues occur. So when we think about having a long-term vision, this vision is essentially needed in order for us to make sure that we are having sustainability in place, as well as we are making sure that we are having collective good over short-term gains. This is very important from the private sector perspective. So when we think about bridging policies with practice, the global cooperation is very important, because with that we can set standards and we can avoid regulatory fragmentation. Also, from the private sector perspective, I think it's very important to have a certain phrase in mind. We need to have global standards while we have local action. Why? Because yes, we need international frameworks to guide us. However, it's important to have local implementation in place, because this is a key in order for us to be able to address the societal and specific societal requirements for every country. Also, we need to make sure that we have adaptive AI governance, because we as companies, we as industry, if we don't evolve with AI, as AI is rapidly evolving, we are going to really lose track. So the policies need to be flexible enough in order to balance with innovation. We have innovation. We don't want our policies to be too rigid in order to hinder this innovation. And as I agree also with my colleague panelists, it's important not just to have an adaptive AI governance, it's important also to have an inclusive governance. We as industry, we as private sector, it's important for us to make sure that everybody benefits from AI and not just you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fadwa. And now I'm moving to my colleague Mohit. Could you please share your experience in India?
Yeah, in India, the government of India, particularly the Department of Telecommunication, is taking steps to put AI governance into action. For India, it is not just theory. We are putting the things into practice to bridge this gap between the theory and the practice. Department of Telecommunication has taken many initiatives. One of the initiatives is Sanchar Sathi portal.
The AI strategies. What is your experience in that? How do they actually go and try to find those resources?
Sure. I would like to mention that I totally agree with Dr. Bilal on what he has mentioned regarding the data fragmentations. First, I think it's very important to have a data strategy before we can have an AI strategy. If we don't have this data strategy in place, we will never have a successful AI strategy. And the data strategy, it involves all the components of the DAMA, including the data governance, data security, quality, and so on. So this is very important to take into consideration. Also, now to answer your question, we need to align policies with reality. AI governance need to translate policies into actionable, practical steps that organizations can actually implement seamlessly. So we need to have monitoring for the AI systems in place. We need to really make sure that they are aligned with the regulations, that they are compliant. This is very important, even with AI ethics, as my colleagues from UNESCO have mentioned. It's important to measure the impact by having assessment standards in place in order to make sure that we are following the frameworks and the ethical frameworks. And this needs to be done from design to deployment. I'm going to give an example, share an example from my country, from Saudi Arabia. One of the projects, mega projects that I have been working in, it had to do with the COVID AI algorithms and predicting the number of cases for the infected cases in Saudi Arabia, as well as the percentage of ICU utilization rates in all the kingdom, in all regions. During this journey in that mega project, which involved many stakeholders from different entities, government, private, without the cooperation from academia, from scientists, from physicians, from civil society for surveys, from government, from private sector, the industry, this project would have never been successful. So this is a live example for how collaboration is needed from all these stakeholders in order for us to implement valid AI models and to make sure that our algorithms are successful and giving us the results that we are seeking. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadwa. So advice would be?
I really believe that AI is a force for good. However, we need to steer it with an ethical compass. If we don't move into the right direction, we will definitely lose focus and we will be subject to AI for bad. So we need to always keep ethics and ethical frameworks in place. I think this is very important and this would be guiding us.
Thank you very much, Fadwa. And so?
Completely agree with the first two speakers, but if I have to add something new, I would say making it a priority that we don't repeat the digital divide that we had created through another new AI divide. While AI is exponentially advancing and benefiting a lot of people in the world, there is a bigger population around the world that is being disadvantaged through the lack of access, awareness, lack of skilling opportunities, and exacerbating that gap. So that is something I think we really need to think of and make conscious decisions to bridge that gap. An interesting story that we faced at UNESCO, we were doing the readiness assessment regional consultations in India because it's such a huge country. And we went to cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, the usual. But we also went to cities like Guwahati in Assam, in the northeastern side. And there, in one of the consultations with the young people, the first question we ask is, have you ever interacted with AI? But usually people enthusiastically respond. Here in Guwahati, nobody was responding, nobody was raising their hands. We were very perplexed. That's very odd. So let's change the question. Okay, how many of you have interacted with ChatGPT? And then everybody's hands goes up. So you already see this in the, I wouldn't say lack, but different understanding of what we mean in AI technologies. And another interesting finding in one of the AI RAMs in India is that while the government of India has done exponentially in increasing the access, it is largely, in terms of data centers, in terms of skilling opportunities, it's really focused on tier 1 cities. So once you go into the tier 2, tier 3 cities, again, you see a significant gap. So just if I had to have a priority, it would be let's not repeat and create a new AI divide.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your hands. How many of you have interacted with AI? Whew, that's a relief. We are at AI4Good. All right, and Mohit, what would be your takeaway and advice?
Yes. So while using AI, we should be dependent on the country-specific, region-specific data sets. Data sets are very important while using AI, while using any of the model of the AI. So while policy making at the ground level, there should be a positive feedback loop, collecting data from the ground and not just depending on a particular data set from a different country. So that's where we can have accuracy in policy making and implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So upskilling, inclusive AI governance, bridging digital divide. So let's all work together. Thank you so much, the panelists. That was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a big applause to our panel. And before you leave the stage, I think we have a special awards from IMC that we would like to deliver to all our great speakers. And at the same time, we will let our colleagues to clean the stage. So could you please bring Memento Awards from IMC for the leaders driving the innovation? And we will have a bit of a music while we are delivering those awards. Thank you so much. And a group picture, of course. All right, so... Thank you. So I will deliver those fantastic awards. Pretty heavy, but regular. Big applause to all the speakers who receive an IMC award memento. To thank you to drive innovation in your domain and in your region. There we go. Great, thank you so much. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you. I invite you to take the seat. And now let's move. Thank you so much. All right. So now we'll move into the AI strategies. What is your experience in that? How do they actually go and try to find those resources?
Sure. I would like to mention that I totally agree with Dr. Bilal on what he has mentioned regarding the data fragmentations. First, I think it's very important to have a data strategy before we can have an AI strategy. If we don't have this data strategy in place, we will never have a successful AI strategy. And the data strategy, it involves all the components of the DAMA, including the data governance, data security, quality, and so on. So this is very important to take into consideration. Also, now to answer your question, we need to align policies with reality. AI governance need to translate policies into actionable, practical steps that organizations can actually implement seamlessly. So we need to have monitoring for the AI systems in place. We need to really make sure that they are aligned with the regulations, that they are compliant. This is very important, even with AI ethics, as my colleagues from UNESCO have mentioned. It's important to measure the impact by having assessment standards in place in order to make sure that we are following the frameworks and the ethical frameworks. And this needs to be done from design to deployment. I'm going to give an example, share an example from my country, from Saudi Arabia. One of the projects, mega projects that I have been working in, it had to do with the COVID AI algorithms and predicting the number of cases for the infected cases in Saudi Arabia, as well as the percentage of ICU utilization rates in all the kingdom, in all regions. During this journey in that mega project, which involved many stakeholders from different entities, government, private, without the cooperation from academia, from scientists, from physicians, from civil society for surveys, from government, from private sector, the industry, this project would have never been successful. So this is a live example for how collaboration is needed from all these stakeholders in order for us to implement valid AI models and to make sure that our algorithms are successful and giving us the results that we are seeking. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadwa. So